Yeah, I mean, I played V Rising somewhat recently, because that's sort of in the same general vein as Streets of Rogue 2. It's an open world. There's some crafting, and one of the things I really like about it is it lets you fiddle with a lot of settings,
Hmm.
to make the game sort of
Right.
easier on yourself. Like so it's not as much of a grind,
Yeah.
especially in single player mode. Like that's something I'm going to be adding to Streets of Rogue 2. Actually, like there's a ton of settings that you'll just be able to like mess with and make the game like way easier or way harder for yourself. I mean, the first game, frankly, was not a super balanced game. I would say. And there's so many character classes and ways to play it that obviously some of them are going to be like way easier than others.
Mm.
Um, and that's probably going to hold through to the sequel, especially given there's a massive increase in scope here. It's probably like an option where, resources are like way more plentiful. So if you don't want to spend
Hmm.
a lot of time gathering whatever, just turn down a meter or something like that. When I was thinking about like trailer shots that we had to do, for the Streets of Rogue trailer,
Hmm.
um, you know, one of the things I did that just came to mind was like, oh, what if you could like ride a bear? Um, and I mean, that wasn't even something I was thinking about implementing, but then I realized, oh, that actually fits in pretty well, because you're already going to have these animals in the game. You want to be able to interact with them in different ways, not just like killing them. I mean, this is the whole thing about Streets of Rogue is like everything should have, multiple purposes. Like street animals are not just there as like fodder for your shotgun or whatever, and to get some meat or whatever. Like they should have, you should be able to, you know, befriend them if that's the route you want to go. I don't like to ever make promises about what's in the game. It's just like I'm speculating on what could potentially be, and it's like, yeah, pets are something that would be certainly very feasible, and I think people would very much appreciate that being there. Mechanically, I don't know how that would work exactly yet.
Yeah, speaking about ideas, can you name one crazy thing that you're implementing in Streets of Rock 2?
Let's see. Well, let's see, when I was thinking about this question, I was planning to talk about the bear thing, so I'm gonna have to think again on like something else that being implemented. Um, for example, like, so if you go into town and you like murder everybody in town,
Hmm.
like you're gonna stop seeing traffic to that town. People will stay dead. It's possible that people might move back in. You're going to get a very negative reputation. It's going to have repercussions in a way that I didn't really anticipate. There's a lot to deal with, but
I enjoy
uh,
that. Like consequences to your
yeah,
actions. You're being held accountable.
yeah,
Exactly. Like, it
yeah,
sounds like your actions will have long-lasting consequences. The whole town's dead is going to be dead for like forever or for a period of time until it rejuvenates and all.
I'm not exactly again. I'm not exactly sure how this is going to work yet,
Crazy.
but it's definitely going to have. I started implementing the scheduling system for NPCs. Like just a couple of months ago, like a proper scheduling system. I had a lot of it done, but a lot of it needed to be completed. So like NPCs, they have like a job and a home,
Hmm.
and they have to have like leisure venues that they go to as well. And so like the way that the cities are built has actually sort of changed around this, because there have to be like enough jobs for people and enough homes, and just places for them to go after work. People have different job shifts even. Some people live together in an apartment together, and but it all like there's a lot more simulation going on
Yeah.
than I anticipated. Like in the original game, when you saw like a home or a job or something, it's just people stick to doing their one activity, and that's all they do basically.
Would you say that's the biggest challenge that you've faced in Streets of Rogue 2 so far, or would you say there's even a bigger one than that?
Yeah, there's actually a bigger one, which is the world streaming system. So I mean, like it's all one big interconnected world
Hmm.
essentially, where there's no loading screens except when you like teleport a far distance or when you go into a dungeon, kind of like a Bethesda game essentially.
Hmm.
And so I mean, like the easy route would have been to just like break up the world into different sections. So like you go too far to the right, you go into the forest, and it just changes the scene or something like that. But I was like, nope, can't do that. I gotta have everything like streaming, in everything content.
Hmm.
It's not just a simple matter of like take code from the original game, stick it into this new system, and you're done. Every piece of everything had to be like, you know, it affects a lot, and there's
Yeah.
the actual, as far as the actual like gameplay and systems, like the like what I just described with the interconnected NPC schedules and stuff like that. Like that's relatively, I'm not going to say simplistic, but compared with the amount of time that I've had to spend, just getting all of the kinks of a giant streaming open world worked out, it's a lot more easy and fun by comparison. In the original game, my favorite character to play was the investment banker. He has a drug problem in the original game, so he's just constantly having to take drugs. I haven't figured out how that mechanic is going to work in this game, because I don't want you to just be like, I don't know. I feel like, I mean, it could work in a more in an open. I mean, there's got to be some kind of addiction penalty or whatever. But in the original game, you really had to do drugs like every 30 seconds or so, or you start losing health or whatever.
Oh my goodness.
But he also starts with like a lot of money, and in this game, there's going to be one of the sort of skill trees has to do with money making and that sort of thing. So I think normally with a character, what you'll end up doing, you will want to have like a shelter, someplace to sleep or whatever. So you might want to do the thing of like cutting down trees or whatever. But the investment banker could just pay for a hotel room. I mean, that's also a possibility. You probably have a better. There's probably benefits to doing that. Like you might have a better sleep.
Fair enough. It's better than sleeping out in the woods, in a wooden shackle.
You can sleep in the woods, but I don't know. Do you want to? Like, there's
Absolutely
other
not.
options too. Yeah, and I mean the idea is that maybe if you don't have the stamina, there's other options for obtaining materials. Maybe you just buy the materials yourself, or there's probably at some point there will also be a system planned, at least right now. I'm not promising, but where you can just select from prefabs of buildings and pay some money or something to like plunk those down.
Yeah.
That's planned as well.
We'll
So
have
if you
like a
really
little-
hate doing the whole building thing,
We'll have
you
like a
can
little thing
probably
that
do that
pops
as
up.
well.
So like this is not a promise. Disclaimer.
Yeah, maybe there's less penalties for sleeping. I'm not sure exactly what, or not sleeping. I'm not sure how that whole thing is going to work yet. I don't expect there will be major penalties for not sleeping by default or anything like that. It's not like it's just there will be benefits though.
Yeah.
So as many people have pointed out, where's fishing? Because that's what people expect.
There you
The answer is
go.
By the way, I haven't thought about fishing. Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure. Like I mentioned somewhere on the forums, like I don't want to have like a mini game, because the game already doesn't really have mini games. I just don't want to get into that territory. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work. It'll probably be there in some fashion at some point. So with the original, the structure of the game was, it was very like strict, like roguelike structure, where you're going through a bunch of levels. I felt very constricted with what I could do with the original within that structure, and this not so much. I mean, I could foresee this being something that I just continue to chip away at for a really long time. I kind of see this as like my Dwarf Fortress a little bit, like, or Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead or something like that, which is another game that's kind of like an open world procedurally generated kind of deal. In the words of Wolfenstein 3D, get psyched.
Love it.
That's what they said at the beginning of every level. I loved that. It's like that was their loading screen. Just get psyched. Yeah. So
I love it. I'm psyched. I don't know about you, but I'm psyched.
the way that characters are built is going to be quite a bit different in this game, but you'll see a lot of returning classes, a lot of returning items, objects from the game world. Everything will be updated to fit the new form of this game, but I'm trying to reuse what I can where I can, because I'm just cheap that way, and I like to reuse things rather than recoding. But yeah, Craig, we're trying to get his contract together right now. Actually, like that's sort of in the process of happening. So assuming that all goes well, yeah, he'll be back doing the music and the sound effects. So yeah, excited to work with him again because it's been a while.
When you say that in terms of replayability it will be the same, does it have that roguelike feel of restarting from the start with no items, or is that still something that's being worked on?
I mean, it's definitely not going to work like that. I mean, I'll probably add a permadeath mode because, I'm sure there's going to be some masochists out there who want that sort of thing. But for most people, I think the game is going to be a much more forgiving experience. It's not. I don't want it to be super easy, obviously, but no, if you die in this open world, I'm not sure how death is going to work exactly, but you're definitely not gonna. It's not gonna be super punishing. But yeah, I mean, I'd still like to support modding and hopefully to a greater degree in the sequel if I have the time. I can't promise exactly when that will occur. Like when the game will when it goes into early access. That probably wouldn't be my top priority, but. Yeah, with the original game, what I found was, I offered the ability to do custom levels and things, but people also found other ways to mod the game, to a greater degree. My son just bit off the end of a crown, and now he's like, it looks like he's like bleeding profusely from the mouth, but not really though. It's just a bunch of red crown. But he's okay. Yeah, it's a non-toxic crown. Everything's all good.